The makeup artist who did that magazine cover you saw last month, the one with the $400 face, owns a $12 mascara. And she uses it on herself. Not on set, where the brand is paying. On herself, in her own bathroom, on a Tuesday. I want to show you something before we start because it's the whole video in one image. A luxury foundation sells for around $68 for 1 ounce. A drugstore foundation sells for around $6. I pulled the ingredient lists for both and lined them up side by side. The first 6 ingredients, the part of the formula that actually does the work, are nearly the same 6, in nearly the same order. Water, glycerin, the same film formers, the same pigments. The expensive one adds a heavier bottle, a fragrance, and a name you've heard in a magazine. That $62 gap is not formula, it's theater. And once you can see the theater, you can't unsee it. You'll be standing in a store 6 months from now, holding a $50 product, and you'll just know. So here's what we're doing today. I'm giving you 7 cheap makeup brands that almost nobody talks about. Brands that get ignored because they're boring, or because they don't run influencer campaigns, or because they sit on the bottom shelf where the lighting is bad and your eye slides right past them. And every single one of them makes at least one product that competes directly with something 3, 5, even 10 times the price. By the end of this, you're going to have a full face. Primer, base, concealer, color, brow, lash, lip. And it's going to cost less than one single luxury foundation. I'll add it all up at the end, so you can screenshot it and take it to the store. 2 rules before we start. So, I'm not just reading you a sponsored list. Rule 1, I take no money from any brand in this video. Nobody sent me a box. Nobody paid for a slot. If a cheap product is bad, I'll tell you it's bad, and a few times today I will, because the goal is the truth, not cheering for cheap things. Rule 2, cheap does not automatically mean good. Every cheap brand also makes filler, the throwaway products that earned the brand its bad reputation in the first place. So I'll tell you exactly which product from each brand is the goldmine, and which ones to walk straight past. The skill was never buying cheap. The skill is knowing which cheap thing is secretly the expensive thing. And there's one brand on this list the prestige counters genuinely don't want you to connect the dots on, because their own chemists have quietly worked on both sides of the price tag. I'm saving that one for number 1. But first, 90 seconds on the thing you have to understand, because it's the engine under everything else. When you buy a $40 blush, you are buying 2 completely separate things that have been bolted together and sold to you as one. The first thing is the formula, the pigment, the binder, the powder that actually goes on your face. The second thing is the experience, the weight of the compact in your hand, the little magnetic click when it closes, the mirror, the fragrance they added so it smells expensive, the font on the lid, the fact that a celebrity's name is printed across it. The formula might cost the company $1 or $2 to make. Independent teardowns of color cosmetics keep landing in that range, low single digits for the stuff inside a powder. The other $38 is the experience. And here's the part that should make you a little angry. The experience does nothing for your face. The click, the weight, the scent, none of it changes how the color looks on your cheek. The cheap brands on this list skip the experience entirely. No magnetic click, no fragrance, no celebrity. Sometimes the packaging is genuinely ugly. And I mean ugly. But the formula, the part that touches your skin, comes out of the same kind of facility, made by the same kind of chemist, using pigments bought from the same handful of global suppliers that sell to everyone. The molecule does not know what shelf it's going to end up on. Once you separate the formula from the theater, the pricing stops making any sense at all. So let's go find the formulas. Number 7. We start with the brand that broke the whole illusion, e.l.f. e.l.f., spelled E.l.F. for eyes, lips, face, built itself selling makeup at $1. $1. And for years, that was the exact reason people ignored it. It's too cheap to be good. That instinct, that little flinch you feel when something is suspiciously cheap, is the trap. Cheap signals bad to your brain, automatically. and that reflex quietly protects the expensive thing on the shelf above it. Here's what changed. e.l.f. stopped just being cheap and started releasing products that were deliberate, point-for-point answers to prestige hits. The one everybody eventually noticed is their liquid glow, the Halo Glow Liquid Filter, which gets compared constantly to a Charlotte Tilbury product selling for around $49. e.l.f.'s version sits around $14. Same job, a soft, lit-from-within radiance that blurs the look of texture. People who own both will tell you, on camera, that the difference is marginal. But the real goldmine in the e.l.f. lineup isn't even the glow. It's the Power Grip Primer, a clear, slightly tacky gel that grips your foundation and holds it down for the whole day. It gets compared to a much pricier primer in a milky white bottle, and the function is identical. It's a grippy base that stops your makeup sliding off your face by 2 in the afternoon. I've worn both on the same day, one side each, and by evening I genuinely could not tell you which cheek had the $14 primer and which had the one costing more than twice as much. What do you skip at e.l.f.? A few of their older pressed powders run chalky, and some of the shade ranges skew pale. But the primers, the Halo Glow, and honestly, the brushes are absurd for the money. Those are the goldmine. You're buying the formula and throwing the experience in the bin, which is exactly what we want. Number 6 is the one that should make you suspicious in the best possible way because of who actually owns it. NYX, pronounced NYX. NYX is owned by L'Oreal, the same parent company that sits behind several prestige and luxury labels you'd recognize. Also owns this drugstore brand you can grab at the supermarket next to the bread. Sit with that for a second. The conglomerate that sells you the expensive version also sells you the cheap version, and the spreadsheet is perfectly happy either way. They are not your enemy, and they are not your friend. They are a business, and the business has already decided it wins whichever one you pick up. So which NYX products are the goldmine? The Soft Matte Lip Cream, a liquid lip that's been around for years, comes in a huge shade range, and costs around $7, is a cult product that professional artists keep in their kits right next to lipsticks costing 4 times as much. Their micro brow pencil goes head-to-head with brow pencils selling for over $20, and their setting sprays quietly do the job of names you'd pay a lot more to say out loud. There's a tell with a brand like NYX, and once you see it, you'll spot it everywhere. It's positioned as professional, but priced as drugstore. Professional is the word a company reaches for when the formula is genuinely good, but they don't want to charge prestige money for it, usually because the same parent already owns a prestige line they need to protect. You get to benefit from that tension. Skip the novelty stuff, the seasonal glitters, and the limited editions chasing a trend. Go straight for the lip creams, the brow products, the setting sprays. Boring categories. Boring is where the formula lives. Number 5 has been sitting on the bottom shelf in the ugliest packaging on this entire list for decades, and it is one of the best kept secrets in all of color cosmetics. Wet n Wild. The plastic is cheap, the shade names are forgettable, and yet the Photo Focus Foundation, the Mega Glow highlighters, and a handful of their single eyeshadows are products that beauty editors will quietly admit they'd put up against things 10 times the price in a blind test, with the labels covered. Here's the mechanism, because I want you to understand why a brand this cheap can possibly be this good. Wet n Wild has been around long enough that its core formulas are mature. They have had literally decades to refine a basic foundation, a basic highlighter. There's no innovation tax baked into the price. They are not paying to develop some breakthrough molecule and then recovering that cost from you, one compact at a time. They are making a known solved product cheaply and selling it for a few dollars. The goldmine here is the Mega Glow highlighter in the right shade, and the Photo Focus Foundation if it suits your skin type. The thing to skip is anything where they've chased a trend, because the brand is always at its best when it stays in its lane, making simple, solved products. And notice the pattern forming across these first 3 brands, because it's the whole strategy. The goldmine is never the flashy new launch with the marketing budget behind it. It's the boring, mature, solved product the brand has been quietly making forever. Hold on to that, because it's how you'll find the next one yourself. Quick pause, because if I just hand you 7 brand names, you've learned nothing. You've got a shopping list, and shopping lists go out of date the moment a brand reformulates. What I actually want you to walk away with is the ability to do this yourself in any aisle for the rest of your life. So here's the test. It takes about 11 seconds, and you can do it on your own shelf right now if you want to pause the video. Pick up any makeup product you own, turn it over, find the ingredient list. It'll be tiny, on the back or the bottom, sometimes only on the box. Read the first 5 ingredients. That's it. The first 5 are most of what the product actually is, listed in order of how much of it is in there. Now here's what you're looking for. For a foundation or a primer, the early ingredients should be water, then the humectants and film formers, glycerin, dimethicone, the workhorses. If you see those same workhorses near the top of a $6 product and a $60 product, you are holding 2 versions of the same formula. The gap between them is the box. And one warning while you're back there. If you see the word fragrance or parfum high up the list on something going near your eyes, a lot of people's irritation traces straight back to exactly that. And the expensive product is not less likely to contain it. Sometimes it's more likely, because smelling nice is part of the experience they're charging you for. Do that 11-second flip on 3 products this week. Just 3. You will start seeing it everywhere, and it will quietly ruin a few shopping trips for you in the best way. That's the entire skill of this channel in 11 seconds. If this is useful and you want the rest of the series, the dupes that beat luxury, the toxic ones to avoid, the over 50 face that actually works, the subscribe button is right there. No sponsor, no agenda. Just me and a label. Back to it. Number 4 is the brand that makes the single most famous dupe in the entire drugstore. And most people who own that dupe have no idea it's the Goldmine. Milani. Milani's baked blush, especially the shade Luminoso, is one of the most recommended blushes on the internet for one reason. It gets compared over and over to a prestige blush that costs around $34, the famous peachy gold one everybody owns. Milani's sits around $9. Same warm golden flush, same lit effect on the cheek. But the blush isn't even the most interesting thing they make. Their Conceal and Perfect Foundation is a full coverage base that gets put up against foundations costing double and triple regularly and holds. And here's the mechanism I keep circling back to. Milani built its entire reputation on being a dupe machine, on openly telling you you don't need to pay prestige prices. That positioning forces them to keep the formulas genuinely good, because the formula is the only reason anyone buys them. They have no prestige to coast on. They can't get lazy. That is the exact opposite incentive from a luxury brand. A luxury brand can let a formula go a little stale, because you're buying the name and the story regardless. A dupe brand cannot. The second their formula slips, the only reason to choose them evaporates. Skip Milani's weaker lip products. Go straight for the baked blush and the Conceal and Perfect line, Goldmine. Number 3 is the cheapest brand on this entire list, and it makes a product that has outsold luxury in numbers that should be embarrassing. Essence. Essence is a German brand, and that detail matters. We'll come back to it in about 60 seconds. Their Lash Princess Mascara is the product. It is consistently one of the best-selling mascaras in the country. It sells in the millions, and it costs around $5. It gets compared in blind tests on camera to high-end mascaras selling for $25 and up, and it holds its own against every one of them. Here's the why it's ignored, and it's a good one. Essence is cheap, and it looks cheap, so your brain quietly files it as starter makeup for teenagers. And that filing does exactly what the expensive brands need it to do. It protects the $25 mascara by making the $5 one feel like a downgrade. It is not a downgrade. It is the same job, done in a German lab, sold without the markup attached. The Goldmine is the Lash Princess, and a couple of their primers. The thing to skip is, honestly, not much. For the price, the hit rate is almost unfair. This is the closest thing on the list to a pure no-brainer. And that German thing I told you to remember? That's the bridge straight into number 2. Number 2 is Essence's sibling, and almost nobody outside of Europe knows they're related. Catrice, pronounced Catrice. Catrice and Essence come from the same German parent company, same country, same kind of facilities, same supply chain. Catrice is just positioned half a step up, aimed at the shopper who wants something that looks a little more grown up on the vanity. And because it shares that German manufacturing backbone, the formulas punch enormously above the price. Their HD liquid coverage foundation and their cream contour and bronzer sticks are the Goldmine. Long wear bases that get compared to foundations several times the price, and creams that blend like much more expensive sticks. And here's the literacy point hiding inside this one, because it's the upgrade that makes you genuinely hard to fool. You are not just buying a brand, you are buying a factory and a supply chain. So when you find one cheap brand that turns out to be secretly great, like Essence, the smartest move you can make is to ask who else comes out of the same place. The answer here was Catrice, sitting right next to it on the shelf that nobody ever told you about. 2 gold mines, 1 supply chain, and the only reason you knew about one and not the other was a marketing budget. And number 1, the brand the prestige counters genuinely don't want you to think too hard about. ColourPop. ColourPop is direct to consumer, and that is the entire secret. It sells mostly online, straight to you with almost no middleman and almost none of the traditional retail markup stacked on top. Their Super Shock shadows and their lippies sit around $5 to $8, and they have a cult following that rivals brands many times the price. But here's the part that matters, and it's why I saved it for last. ColourPop sits inside the same broad manufacturing world that produces for several much more famous, much more expensive labels. That kind of shared lab and fill arrangement is genuinely common in this industry. One facility quietly producing for brands at wildly different price points. The same machines, the same chemists, the same drums of pigment. The point isn't the gossip. The point is the proof of this entire video. The same chemists, the same fills, the same pigments, going into a $5 pot and a $50 pot. And the only thing that changed on the way to your face was the label and the number printed under it. ColourPop is the gold mine that quietly admits the whole game just by existing. Skip the overhyped collab launches if they spike the price. Stay in the core, Super Shock, and Lippy range. That's where the value lives. Okay, let's build the face I promised you and add it up so you can screenshot this. Primer, e.l.f. Power Grip, around $14. Foundation, Catrice HD or Milani Conceal in Perfect, around $9 to $13. Concealer, e.l.f. or NYX, around $6. Blush, Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso, around $9. Highlighter, Wet n Wild Mega Glow, around $5. Brow, NYX Micro Brow, around $11. Mascara, Essence/Princess, around $5. Lip, NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream, around $7. Add that up and you are sitting around $65 to $70 for an entire face, primer to lip. That is less than one single luxury foundation, one bottle. You just built the whole face for the price of the cap they'd sell you at the counter. And every product in that face passes the 11-second test. Flip any of them over, read the first 5, and you'll see the same workhorses you'd find on the expensive shelf. So here's what I actually want you to take from all of this. It was never 7 brand names. Brand names change. Formulas get reformulated. A gold mine today can quietly get worse next year. The thing that does not change is the skill. Separate the formula from the theater. Flip the bottle, read the first 5, and ask who else comes out of the same factory. The villain in this story was never the luxury brand. They're allowed to sell you a beautiful box and a celebrity's name. That's a real business. And some people genuinely enjoy the ritual of it. And that's fine. The villain is the quiet little assumption that price equals performance, because that assumption is the only thing holding the $62 gap together. The moment you stop being a target and start being a buyer, that gap just collapses. So tell me down below, what's the most expensive makeup product you ever bought that turned out to be no better than a cheap one? I read these and the answers genuinely make people gasp. And next time, I'm taking the 9 drugstore products that beat their luxury counterparts in a straight head-to-head, including one $8 foundation that goes toe-to-toe with a name selling for over $200. Subscribe so you don't miss which one it is.